Yo, it's your boy Ancient Albatross here again with the solo Cypher Unlimited crew. We have Spiggs 18 and me behind the wheel as usual. But just as a quick reminder, if you haven't already, be sure to follow us here on Twitch and subscribe to us over on YouTube. It is a great help for our channel. And also as another reminder, if you haven't already, be sure to check out the Entropic Isle, my new book coming out on BackerKit. Got about 22 days left. We are less than $300 away from our second stretch goal, which is a packet of VTT assets, which I know everyone loves their VTT, so it'd be a very nice thing to make. I might even make it anyway because it's probably something I'm going to want for my personal use. But either way, enough about that. Anthony, what are we doing here tonight?
We're doing top 10 lists, our personal favorite MCG products. And I got to go first, and then I think Dean, and then followed by Al for the next 2 consecutive shows. So this is going to be very interesting. Before I even get started, I just want to say this was freaking hard. Like, when I pitched this idea to Al and Dean, I was like, oh, I'll go first. I'll whip up a list real quick. I had to rewrite it like 8 times because I was either forgetting something that I wanted to put in the 10 list and then having to remove something else and then flip-flopping. It was a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. So, yeah, this is going to be exciting. I'm pretty sure that the 3 of us are going to have vastly different lists, maybe for the exception of 1 or 2 products. So this is going to be very interesting, and I'm pretty sure the chat is going to have opinions on our personal list. But guys, just remember, these are our personal favorites. In no way are we saying that these are the best MCG products, but these are the ones that either impacted us personally the most or the ones that we got the most enjoyment out of. So, yeah, I'm really excited to get started with this list. But before I do, there's only 8 days remaining on the Anywhere Door Monte Cook Games Moonbeam project. It's a new streaming service and a chat room, and it's very MCG is super excited about this project because they're gonna use the money from this BackerKit project to give content creators and allow them space on their channel, which is the Anywhere Door. So please, if you haven't already, go back it. You know, Cypher Unlimited is going to be there. Kent Hub, Mr. Taras. There's a ton of great Monte Cook Games content creators that are participating. And yeah, if that's something you're interested in, throw a couple bucks their way. I'm sure MCG will appreciate it. So before we get started on my official top 10 list, everybody in chat, put the books you think I'm going to put on my list. And like I said, it was freaking hard to do this list in the first place. So I changed the game a little, and I gave all 3 of us, we have at least 1 honorable mention. So I'm going to start off the list with my honorable mention. And here we go. Anthony's personal favorite Monte Cook Games product. And my honorable mention is God Forsaken by Sean K. Reynolds and Monte Cook. I really wish I could have fit this in the top 10, y'all. This is a must-have for anybody running fantasy. You're going to see a common theme here. I love the MCG toolkit books, and this is the toolkit version for all their fantasy products. It gives you alternate ways of using magic. It gives you the traditional, like D&D-esque style fantasy characters, how to create them in Cypher System if you choose. And yeah, this is just an all-around fantastic book. I can't say enough of it. Well, one of the things I really loved about God Forsaken was that it allowed people that wanted to play, Cypher System style games, but aren't necessarily familiar with the narrative first method that MCG provides its players. It allowed them a comfort zone to say, okay, look, we can play a D&D style game in Cypher. This is how to do it. And they show you how to do high fantasy, swords and sandals, pretty much every fantasy genre you could imagine. They give you an advice on how to run it. There's a ton of creatures in there. There's a ton of artifacts. There's a ton of traps, multiple ways of using magic. It's just a fantastic book. And like I said, it probably deserved to be in my top 10, but it made my honorable mention list. So I think we're starting off well because if God Forsaken is your honorable mention, I can only imagine what I have on my list. So number 10, are you guys ready? Number 10 on my list for top 10 Monte Cook Games products is the Cypher System Bestiary. I don't know if Al changed the screen, but this absolutely had to be on my list. Anybody that's watched any of our shows, ever since the first Cypher System rulebook came out, I've been championing Monte Cook Games to produce a monster book. It took them 4 or 5 years, but they finally did it. So this absolutely had to make my top 10 list. And man, they did not disappoint. I think this is a fantastic product, especially, I mean, I'd like to see more of these monster books come out, to be honest. Not only do they cover multiple genres and, multiple settings that you can use, they have full-page open spread layouts of some of the creatures in there, which is fantastic. The artwork is phenomenal. They give you ideas on how to utilize the creatures. They have a wide array of different challenge levels for the creatures, which is also a great thing when you're dealing with a monster book. So you got level 1 creatures all the way to level 10, and there's enough variety in there that, you could pretty much utilize it for any game you're running. So I was really surprised that it took them so long to create this product, but once they did, I have to give them credit. They did a phenomenal job, and it's hard to make my list because, like everyone knows, I've been talking about a monster book for the Cypher System for so long. So I'm happy we got one, and I'm happy that this was the one they made because, it's truly a great book. I think this is going to be, number 9 is going to be my surprise on this list. But my number 9 book, if I was ready to switch it over, is Worlds Numberless and Strange by Bruce Cordell and Monte Cook. This, I think, is the most underrated MCG product ever made. People don't realize it was originally designed for the Strange setting system, which for those that may not have never played the Strange, it was the precursor to the CSR, really. The entire setting used recursions, which allowed you to travel to different realms, basically different. You could genre hop within the setting, and this book, when Bruce wrote it, was essentially 90 different micro settings, and this was before the CSR guys. And this was the book why I personally put this on my list. Is the reason why I put this book on my list. This was the book that actually showed me the strength of the Cypher System and what Cypher System itself was capable of. Because if you look at the different micro settings in the book, they are so vastly different. Like, you had hard fantasy, hard sci-fi, horror, zombie apocalypse, Star Wars. They had a Star Wars type recursion, a Halloween town. It was each micro setting was so different, and it opened my eyes to, oh shit, I could do anything with the Cypher System. And even though this is no one saying this, but I personally believe that World's Numberless and Strange really showed the MCG team how strong the Cypher System could be in handling every setting. And not only was it fantastic for the micro settings, you could run them as is. You didn't need to run them in the Strange. You could just run them as straight, straight one-shots or straight campaigns, even in the regular Cypher System game. What I personally enjoyed as well is it showed me how to write up a setting or a genre if I personally wanted to come up with my own idea. It gave me 3 or 4 pages, and it showed, Bruce showed me what was important when developing a micro setting, because everything that was in there was what you needed. He gave you important locations, plot hooks, important NPCs to interact with, Some of them had ciphers in it that you could use. Some of them, it was just such a well-crafted book. It's still one of the books that I use to this day, especially when I'm getting a little stuck on what to run. If I want to run a run shot, I always pull this book off my bookshelf and just read a couple of micro settings for inspiration. So I definitely had to put this on my list because, like I said, I still utilize this book to this day, and this is one of the pretty much one of the original MCG products. This is an OG book, and I still use it constantly. I absolutely love Worlds Numberless is Strange. Number 8 on my list. Number 8 on my list is Rust and Redemption by Sean K. Reynolds. Rust and Redemption, post-apocalyptic settings is one of my favorite genres of all time. Once again, I love the toolkit aspect of all the white books, and this one edged out God Forsaken because I think there was other fantasy books that you'll see I put on my list, but I knew I had to put one of these two on there. So the one thing I really like about this book is I love the equipment section, and I love the concept, like all the additional new mechanics that were added to the Cypher system that once again can be utilized for other settings. I love post-apocalyptic games. I love this book. I love the mini adventures in this book as well. I think the mini adventures are actually some of the better ones in all the white books. Overall, this is a fantastic book. Check it out. Rust and Redemption is also one of the newer books that came out. So, you can't go wrong with this. You can't go wrong with any of the toolkit books, really. But this is definitely one of my favorites. Number 7 on my list is Ptolus, City by the Spire. Those that know, this was originally a Monte Cook Games 3E project. It's a humongous fantasy setting. The reason why this is on my list, one, it's freaking hella cool. It's a mega fantasy city that pretty much covers every spectrum of fantasy role-playing that you could possibly imagine. But this is a freaking monster. It gives you a ton of new races, a ton of tech, a ton of cipher, a ton of spells. This and God Forsaken will give you years of fantasy role playing and cipher system if you wanted to. Ptolus itself is such a fantastic city that you could basically just play Ptolus for the next 10 years and be totally satisfied. Stay within the city, and just rock out and game just in the city of Ptolus. For bang for your buck, this is probably one of the better MCG books you could possibly get. Because like I said, it's like the equivalent of 8 or 9 books. It's so thick. You know what I mean? I love Ptolus. I can't say enough about why I personally like Ptolus. But I also think Ptolus had that nostalgia factor that people that played, the 3E version, it brought a lot to the Cypher system community because you had people that were 3E fans and loved Ptolus, and it brought them over to try it out in Cypher system, which was a great thing. So far, is the list surprising you guys? And the last thing I just want to say about Ptolus is that it added a ton of new races, and it added a ton of new tech spells. It was just so chock full of fantasy goodness. You can't go wrong with Ptolus. And I still want to read. I ran a couple of mini arcs of Ptolus. I always want to go back to it. I just do not have the time. Number 6 on my list, before we get to the top 5, this was really difficult because this book should have fit into the top 5 because this has very sentimental to me, Dean, and Al, because this is the book that the 3 of us first started gaming with, and that book is Gods of the Fall by Bruce Cordell. I met Dean by playing Gods of the Fall. The you know, the CU that you see to this day, you know, the core three, we forged our bond through Gods of the Fall. You know, Gods of the Fall, not only is it a fantastic setting, it's always going to hold a sentimental value to me because, you know, I met my older brother playing this game. So it's absolutely phenomenal. I'll mention that this is currently out of print, which freaking sucks. I don't understand how Gods of the Fall is out of print. But it's essentially the best way to describe Gods of the Fall is if supers met fantasy characters, you would have Gods of the Fall. You know, you're playing reincarnated gods on a fantasy world where all the gods have died and heaven has crashed onto Earth. It's such a fantastic setting. You know, it's kind of funny because once again, this is one of the older books, but I could see how the toolkit books utilized a lot of the stuff that was originally written by Bruce for Gods of the Fall and how it influenced the white toolkit books after the fact. But once again, if you haven't played Gods of the Fall, you absolutely should. If you like supers or if you like fantasy and you like mixing your supers with your fantasy, you know what I mean? Gods of the Fall is a must-have. And also, that cover was freaking fantastic. Out of the original 3 books, Gods of the Fall had the best cover. Come on, you guys know it had the best cover. You can't even front on that. Oh, look, Al's adjusting. I mean, Dean said he's adjusting his list after seeing my list. No fair. Yeah, Gods of the Fall is a phenomenal book. I wonder if they're ever going to bring it back to print, guys. You think it'll ever come back to print? You can get the PDF, you just can't get the physical book. I wonder why that's actually one of the books that are out of print. Are there many other books that are out of print, or is it just Gods of the Fall? I'm trying to see if chat knows. Is The Strange out of print too, or you can still pick up a copy of The Strange? Dean said they did. Oh, The Strange is in print. That's weird. Why is it only Gods of the Fall? Huh. That's weird enough. But number 5, are you guys ready for number 5 on this list? Number 5, I had to put on this list, and I had to put it ahead of Gods of the Fall because I just think it's a phenomenally written book. But number 5 on my list is Claim the Sky by Monte Cook, Sean K. Reynolds, and Bruce Cordell. You know, I love supers. This is one of the best toolkit books designed. I'm a huge fan of toolkit books. And yeah, this book just made me happy. This was a supers book that had a ton of superpowers in it. And that was my problem with the first attempt at supers by MCG. And Sean listened to us and really delivered. You know, you could pretty much play any type of superhero, and they give you archetypes of how to build the iconic superheroes. You know, yeah, I can't say enough great things. There's such a variety of superpowers. The monster, I mean, the baddie list in this book is extremely, extremely helpful. Just by looking at the villains and the creatures in this book, allows a person that's not used to playing supers how to design their supers just by looking at the way Sean designed the villains, which I think is very important. The setting is hella cool as well. You know, if there wasn't for some other books on this list, you know, I think this would have probably been higher. But yeah, it shows you how to not only run supers, it shows you how to run supers in other settings and genres, which is very important. He even talks about running supers in sci-fi, running supers in fantasy, running supers in pretty much every genre. Sean, Monty, and Bruce really knocked out the park with this one. But Claim the Sky is my number 5 book. All right, number 4. Number 4 on this list is Predation by Shauna Germain. hands down, if we're talking about just the setting, right? Not all the extra fiddly bits you get with one of these setting books, like all the extra stuff. The setting alone, I think, is probably the most original and unique setting of any setting MCG ever made. It's so hella cool. You get to have a dinosaur, control dinosaurs. The characters are well designed. They're well balanced, and it also introduced the companion mechanic, which is a mechanic that could be used in any Cypher system game. I think Shauna really killed it with this. My gut feeling, this might be number one on Al's list because Al loves this book, but it's definitely deserves to be in my top 5. I absolutely love Predation. I can't say enough great things about it, but the setting itself, I think, is the biggest setting. I mean, the best setting out of all the MCG settings, for the exception of Numenera, of course. Yeah, Predation is number 4 on my list. I think my list has been if you guys watched enough of our video, I think you could pretty guess what my top 10 list was going to be. Number 3 is my personal favorite toolkit book of all time, and arguably it isn't number 1, but it's arguably my favorite book. My most used book is definitely my most read book. I probably read this book at least 10 times. But number 3 on my list is Stay Alive by Sean K. Reynolds. The reason why it was not 1 or 2 on my list is because there were just 2 books I absolutely couldn't not have in the top 2 spots. But horror is my favorite genre. Everyone knows that. I love running horror games. I love playing in horror games. And Sean freaking killed it with this book. Sean is my favorite designer when it comes to MCG, and Stay Alive is probably the reason why. This is the perfect toolkit book to me. It gives you everything you need to run a horror game in any genre. If you want to splash horror in an existing game, or if you want to run a straight horror game on its own, if you want to run slasher psychological body horror, he covers it all. It gives you a wide array of creatures and monsters. It gives you a large portion of this book. It's just story ideas to run a horror game on. The artwork is absolutely gorgeous. There's nothing bad I can say about Stay Alive. Stay Alive is my favorite book, and look at the freaking cover. You can't tell me the cover is hot. Stay Alive is my absolute favorite MCG book. But number 2 on my list, and I think this might be the shocker, but number 2 on my list is Numenera Discovery and Destiny. I know this is the flagship. I know we wouldn't have anything without Numenera. This is the most supported setting in MCG's catalog by far. It's not even close. There's more Numenera products than all the other products combined. The Ninth World is such a rich, deep, super, super successful setting. There's no way hell this couldn't be in my top 2. Numenera, it is what it is. It's the elephant in the MCG room. It's the bee's knees. It's the flagship. There's nothing else you could say about Numenera that hasn't been said already. This is what started it all. It's still, I could play Numenera whenever. I could run Numenera whenever. It's so, it has fantasy elements, sci-fi elements. The characters are so well balanced. The world is fleshed out to the point where you could pretty much travel anywhere you want, but not too fleshed out where you don't have room to breathe and add your own personal life to it. There's nothing more that you can say about Numenera that hasn't already been said. Even if you've never played Cypher System before, I always recommend that people start out with Numenera because, there's so much you can do in there. And it actually highlights what the Cypher System itself can do. That if someone's first trying to, try a Monte Cook Games project out, a Cypher System product out, I always recommend that they try first with Numenera. So Numenera Discovery, and I chose Numenera Discovery and Destiny because it's the latest release, and it's actually more expansive than the original Numenera. So they added character types, additional character types. It's still a great, it's better than the original by far. So yeah, Numenera Discovery and Destiny is number 2 on my list. And number 1, surprise, surprise, the Cypher System Revised Core Rulebook. This is what can I say? This is Cypher System. This is my personal Bible. All those toolkit books, you need this book to run it, right? And even if you didn't have it, you would still have hours and hours of enjoyment just with this book alone. It covers 9 different genres that you could run. It's flexible enough that you could do anything. The CSR is probably the CSR is probably why I felt the original one is probably why I fell in love with the Cypher System. I knew I liked Numenera, but the CSR made me fall in love with Monte Cook Games, if that makes any sense. Mike said he just got here. We'll rewind the list for you, but we'll definitely do a recap. So yeah, just to recap my list, number 1 on my list was the Cypher System Revised book. Number 2 was Numenera Discovery and Destiny. Number 3 was Stay Alive. Number 4 was Predation. Number 5 was Claim the Sky. Number 6 was Gods of the Fall. Number 7 was Tolus. Number 8 was Rust and Redemption. Number 9 was Worlds Numberless and Strange. Number 10 was the Cypher System Bestiary. And my honorable mention was God Forsaken. So that's my list, guys. What do you guys think of my list? Once again, this is a personal list. A lot of these books may not have been the best-selling MCG books, especially like something like World's Numberless and Strange, but were the ones that impacted me the most as a GM or as a player, or made me love the company that Monte Cook Games today, right? Now I'm going to just talk about, there were so many products, right, that I absolutely wanted to get on this list. And the reason why I didn't put, I'll give you a perfect example, was it really hurt me that I didn't put Invisible Sun, or it really hurt me that I couldn't put Stealing Stories for the Devil, right? But I felt like in good conscience, I couldn't put them in my personal top 10 because I didn't play them enough. The times I did play them, I absolutely enjoy, and I recognize they're both phenomenal games. I just didn't think I had enough playtime with those compared to these books that I could have justified putting them in my top 10. I also really, really wanted to put the playmat in my top 10, but there was no freaking room. That's Al, we have a separate chat that I was posting the top 10 list to Al because, he was sharing it out on the screen. And I had the playmat originally at 9. Then I deleted it, put it to 10. Then I removed it from the list entirely. And we were just talking about that. I think the playmat is probably one of the best tools you can get. I just didn't have any freaking room for it. And the last one that I really wanted to put in, but it fell under the same category, was It's Only Magic. I just haven't played with it enough to put it in my top 10. I think it's a great book, but I couldn't justify fitting it into my top 10. So, chat, what's your top 3? What's your top 10 going to be? So overall, I think this was a pretty solid top 10. If I had to remove any book from my personal top 10, that'd be tough. Maybe Rust and Redemption would be the only one that I think I would, if I had to remove either Rust and Redemption or Tolus. 6 through 1, I don't think I could touch, because all 6 of those books have been very impactful to my love of MCG. So I couldn't mess with any of those. So, and World's Numberless is Strange. I just don't think it gets the love that it deserves. So it had to be in my top 10 somewhere. So it would have probably been Rusted Redemption or Toeless if I could remove anyone. Or DM tells us he really like the origin. My gut feeling is that Dean is probably going to have that on his top 10 because I know he really loves it as well. They're talking about Brady Loser was like the X card system. Are you talking about cassette and gaming? You know what? I didn't even think about that. Cassette and gaming. I mean, I probably wouldn't have room in there, but yeah, that's actually a great choice. The cassette and gaming document. Yeah, Dean is confirming that he's definitely gonna have the origin in his. Yeah, I figured that because Dean's always freaking talking about. They don't shut up about that book. Oh, the Knife War Bastard. Yeah, that's actually a good one too. Which one though? There's 3 Knife War Bestiaries. I personally like the second one. The second one is personally my favorite. Yeah, guys. I mean, this was a short and sweet one. This is my top 10. Before we even sign off and go on to some other things, is there any book that you think I absolutely got wrong on this list? And if so, what's the book the chat will vote for me to remove from my top 10 list? I'm just curious. XP Dex is actually a good one too. Oh, that was another. That's a great point. Old Gods is another one that fantastic book. I just did like when I was doing my personal list. That's another book that I didn't have enough playing time with. I think if I would have played it more or ran it more, it could have snuck into my top 10 list. I just didn't have enough playtime with it. But if we were doing the top 10 most beautiful books, that's one probably on my list. Dean said he's surprised that the bestiary eked out God Forsaken. Brilliant says Gods of the Fall worth picking up. It absolutely is. The only thing I will say about Gods of the Fall and Predation for that matter is that those books are pre-revised. So, like, and what I mean by that is that they were written before the Cypher System revised edition. And, all the toolkit books after that uses the basic character types that are in the Cypher System revised book. Those have, they had types made specifically for those genre books. So some of them are a little bit wonky, and they can be used with the Cypher System revised book, but all the page number references are to the original Cypher System book. But that's an easy workaround. But if it was up to me, I would definitely say because the setting itself, the difference between the original 3 Cypher System books and everything after the revised book, all the toolkit books, is that those were real setting books. And what I mean by that, in the toolkit books, you might have 5 to 10 pages of setting and lore and fluff. In those books, you have 40 to 50 pages of lore fluff. So they really fleshed out the worlds in Predation, Unmasked, and Gods of the Fall, as opposed to just little, snippets of information that you got in the toolkit book. So if you really, really like digging deep into a setting, then yeah, Gods of the Fall is definitely worth picking up. I agree with you, Mike. The bestiary is awesome. That's why I put it at 10. So yeah, this was a pretty sweet and simple video. Yeah, I'm glad I gave my top 10. I'm really curious to see. I'm really curious to see what Al's list is because he promised that it's going to be a little bit different. Oh, Darkest House, Jeremy. Oh yeah, I fucked up on that one. That was on my list too. I prefer the software over the book, but absolutely, the book is gorgeous, but the program itself is. If I'm gonna run Darkest House, I'd rather run it through the software. But the book is absolutely gorgeous, though. Yeah, Darkest House. Oh, that's a tough one. Yeah, there's so many. You know what the freaking problem is? There's too many good books. Like, like like it would have been so much easier if MCG put out a lot more crappy products. But it seems like they topping themselves, every freaking time in the next book that comes out. And then there's this nostalgia factor of certain books like I have to have Predation in there. I have to have Gods of the Fall because not only are they great products, I have so many fond memories behind those games and books. Those had to be on my list. So, it's really difficult. I'm really curious to see, what everyone else what I have a good idea what I think Dean's list is going to look like. Me and Dean talk a lot about what games we like, so I think I could probably predict 85% or 90% what's on Dean's list. This list, I'm not going to freaking lie. I think I might be like 2% right on what I was going to put on his list because I was unpredictable. He could be all over the place. Big hint for my list that this is a product list, it's not a book list. Yeah, I might put like this is the hoagie I ate when I first read the Cypher System rule book. So I have like no clue what's going to be. Yeah, they said Dice is going to be on his list. I would definitely. That's another thing too. The MCG dice, every dice that they ever put out is list worthy. Yeah, yeah. I have no idea what Dean. I have a pretty good idea. Me and Dean, we argue about what are our favorite books all the time. So I kind of know what's going to be on Dean's. Planebreaker, Mike. That's another one. Planebreaker could have made my list. So yeah, chat. Will you go to the Cypher Unlimited Discord and post what you think your top 10 list would be? And if you're watching this on YouTube, tell me where I fucked up on my list, or tell me where you agree with me, and let me know if you agree with my list, or if you think my list is trash. And if so, tell me what's your list, because I'm curious to see. Yeah, none of these were. Oh, Mike said Planebreakers is top 5. Oh, that I don't know it'll be on my top 5, but that's very interesting. I do think it's a good book, though. Oh, DM Townsend said he's making his own list. That's awesome. The Strange is another book I should have put on my list. That was freaking hard too, and I played a lot of Strange. That's damn. Now I kind of regret not putting Strange on. Thanks a lot. Way to ruin my night. Yeah, I should have put the Strange on. I kind of fucked that one up. Oh, you live and learn. You got to change this whole. We got to edit this for YouTube. We get the Strange. Especially since I'm always arguing with Dean about the Strange needed more material that I didn't put it on my list. Yeah, and I played a shit ton of the Strange. Yeah, I kind of dropped the bag on that one. But the Strange is sort of like the Cypher System core book in some aspects, yeah. Rules. Dino Chicken said he would take Numenera. I couldn't take Numenera just based on principle. Even if I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong because everything you're saying is probably right. Oh, Game of the BS, Tolus. Yeah, yeah, I could have took Tolus off for the Strange. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And welcome, Game of the BS. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I could have took Tolus out for the Strange. Too fucking late now. Yeah, Jeremy says a special place in that. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's the one I effed up. Yep, totally agree. Like, in the sky is that has to stay. That's not going anywhere. Rusted Redemption was such a great. Yeah, Rusted Redemption was that book. Even though I ran it a lot at GameOCon, like actually that was the game I ran the most for MCG at Game. I ran the adventure that was in there like 5 times. But the thing about Rusted Redemption is that it speaks to me on so many levels, right? I love post-apocalyptic games, but just the way that the stories are crafted, it gave me so many ideas on running other shit that, I had to put Rusted Redemption on that list. And I think it was a setting that people were clamoring for the Cypher system. For as long as they've been making genre books, there's always been somebody say, "Yo, hey, I want to run Mad Max, or I want to run a zombie apocalypse game." And they need a book covering that, and they scratch the itch that I think a lot of MCG fans had. And Charles Ryan himself, that was his favorite setting. Remember that? I was thinking about putting one of the box sets. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, one of the box sets would have definitely be good. But Brady said I could finally run Mad Max. So we can make it happen, dude. You've been saying that for a while. Oh, weird. That was another one that I was thinking about too. Yeah, nah, I don't think I could have fit the weird on my list. I mean, I could justify taking Tolus out for the strange, but I can't justify taking Tolus out for the weird, if that makes any sense. Yeah, predation is such a fun setting. Yeah, like, and I'm glad you had fun in the game too. It's such a fun setting. The companion mechanic, I think, it was the first mechanic that came from a setting book that was universally loved no matter what MCG game you played. I mean, there's been a lot afterwards, like the horror mode from Stay Alive, but that was the first mechanic that came from one of the setting books that, everyone's like, oh, I could use this in Numenera, I could use this in The Strange, whatever it came up. Oh, First Responders. I was thinking about First Responders, but that was another book that I didn't. I spent more time reading it than actually playing it. Yeah, the companions with Super's sidekicks. We definitely got to do that. All right, guys, that was my top 10 list, and I effed up by not putting the Strange in. I have a Strange book. I just didn't put the Strange in, but thanks for ruining my list, chat. That's why I love you guys. But overall, I'm still satisfied with my list. I think that they all have a special place in my heart, and I'm curious to see what your guys' lists are. And once again, please go back. Um, uh, um, if you find it, you find it in your heart, go back MCG's Anywhere door. You know, they're giving money to content creators like ourselves. We will have two shows on the Anywhere door. So if you want to support, we'll also still be here on Twitch, but we'll also be streaming there. We're probably moving our interview show over to that channel. So yeah, you know, and you support them, you're indirectly supporting us because they're paying some of the content creators, and we're gonna handle some of the moderation there as well. You know, and if not, if you don't want to support that, but want to support us, go support Owls and Traffic Owl. You know, it's currently on Back a Kit right now as well. I believe it has like 22 days left, and he's already hit a couple of stretch goals. And as someone that got to see everything firsthand, trust me, it's going to be a fantastic. It might make my top 10 list someday, but don't tell Al that and get his head big. But yeah, it's looking fantastic. So yeah, go once again, you'll be supporting us by supporting Al. So yeah, what you call it, definitely go check it out. And before I'll kick us off, if you like us and you like what we do, join the Cypher Unlimited Discord server for all things Monte Cook Games. We have the largest fan-run Discord server for anything MCG. There's games being played there. There's great conversations being had, and all sort of fun little games. CypherCon will be held there shortly. We do conventions, we do giveaways, so please go check it out. But if Discord's not for you, join our Facebook group. It's not as big as on Discord, but there's still great conversations being had there daily as well. Our videos are always free, but if you want to support us financially in a way, you can give us a little donation on Ko-fi, and you know it helps us out with our giveaways and stuff like that. Or if you find it in the kindness of your heart, give us a sub here on Twitch, or like, share, and subscribe to our videos on YouTube. We're still trying to build both these platforms up, you know, as big as we could get, and any little support you could give us will be greatly appreciated. If you want to pick up some cool Cypher Unlimited merch, and I actually don't have any on today, like the shirt that I'm sure Dean has on in the background, you can go to our online store and pick up some cool Cypher Unlimited merch. And yes, CypherCon merch will be available there as well. And last but not least, we love you guys.
Yep. Thank you so much, Anthony, for running us down your top 10 list. Yeah, you definitely goofed on the Strange there. I was saying in the chat that should have been replaced with Numenera, but it is what it is. Can't change the past. But yeah, and on top of that, thank you everyone for coming by and talking about the list with us. We definitely got some nice opinions in there, and it looks like we got a couple other content creators going to make their own top 10 list. So it's going to be interesting to see what everyone comes up with. And then next week on Tuesday, we got Dean doing his, and next week Thursday, me doing mine. So definitely going to be in for a treat in the coming streams. Yeah, thank you everyone so much. And from us at the CU, we will see you later. Peace.